And today we have somebody new on our speakers, in our speakers group. Our wonderful Marie Taylor Harper is going to be talking to you about when the door opens, will you go through? Marie is opening doors for herself daily, it seems like. She is doing so many exciting things, and I think taking every metaphysical class offered in the Valley. I say that lovingly because she's one of my UCM Ministerial students, and every time I talk to her, she's doing something else. And it's been amazing to see what's available out there. New ideas, new thoughts, new spiritual ways of looking at life. And I'd like you all to please recognize and let her know how much we appreciate her having the ability and the spirit and the guts to get up in front of us. Please.
Hey, woo!
All right. Do tricks. Well, that's easy to do here.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, first of all, I had neck surgery and you might not hear me. That's the rule.
That's why the mic is there.
Is it better? Yeah. It does. That's just a rule.
Just speak into the microphone. Instead of having it above you, speak right into it. Ice cream.
So I volunteered to give the speech this morning.
So to speak. Like we all volunteer, right?
For those of you who don't know, this is a requirement, is to do a talk here.
So I volunteered to give this speech about doors and what happens when they appear and what should you do if they do appear and should you go through.
Yes.
So I've been pondering this all week. I've written many speeches in my head. I've even written one on paper. And essentially when I came here, a door opened. I wasn't sure why I was coming here. What was it? In April, so 8 months ago. But I was looking for something because about 11 months before that, I got this strange message. And up until that point in time, I tried to be normal.
Oh yeah, we all do that.
And I thought I was doing pretty good at being normal, but on that particular day I got this message, and the message was, if you go on this trip, your life will change forever. I said, but I have to! It's my dad's 90th birthday! And off I went, and my life changed. And I went on a very interesting journey, and Dr. Arlene reminded me of what happens when you go on these journeys this morning. After I paced outside and then came in through the door that opened. And it gave me an opportunity to think about things and to put things into perspective. So that brought me to things I've been thinking about and places I wanted to go, and looking for a church which was about 12 years ago. And I was like, well, no, I really don't want to go to one of those. It's not me. And so I held off. And I saw this ad in Vito. And I was like, oh, that's where I'm supposed to be. So I came on that one Sunday, 8 months ago. And I parked out front, thinking, well, you go through the front door.
Yeah, it's a trick, isn't
And
it?
you all laughed.
I do.
I watched and I saw somebody go through the front door. I go, okay, I go through the front door. I go to the door and I try the door and the door's locked. Like, that's really weird. And so I knocked on the door and I looked through the door and there's nobody in there. It's weird. Okay, there's gotta be people in there because I saw someone go in. So I came around the back and I looked. And all I saw was a warehouse door. The one back there. I didn't see the purple door for the life of me. I said, okay, well, that's interesting. Let me go back to the other door and see what happens. So I went back to the other door. And I looked at the door and I went, you're gonna open for me now? And I looked up and I said, if I am meant to be in here, the door's gonna open. And I waited, and the next thing I know, the door opened.
Yay! Woo!
Oh, and who was it but Corky? And her words were to me, don't come through this door, you have to come through the back.
Not a welcome, not enough.
Always welcoming, Courtney.
Get in here.
Come through the back. The warehouse door? And then I saw the purple door. So, since I've been here, I've had many, many doors open. And I've discovered over my life, my journey of 18 months, that most of that has to do with believing. And if you believe, things happen. And if you believe, you can ask. And it's amazing what happens when you ask.
Hallelujah, sister.
And this morning, someone said something to me. And they said, they saw this little thing on Facebook, a place we all kind of go sometimes. And they said, I saw this choice, chance, change thing. I said, yeah, it is a choice. It's a choice to go through that door. It's a big choice. And it's whether or not you really want to take a chance and whether or not you have what it takes to make the change. But we all have what it takes to make the change. We just have to believe in ourselves. And we have to believe that we have a support system out there for us. And we're not alone. And that's what it really is that support system. And sometimes we go on retreats and different things, and sometimes we just have to reveal who we are. So, I did want to share something, a quote that I found myself, which kind of reminded me of finding Corky 8 months ago. And it was on Facebook, because I've been posting things to keep myself in the mode of today. And that quote was, and it comes from the Bible, and it says, "Behold, I stand at the door and I knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him, and will sup with him, and he with me." And I can say that I am very, very glad that I came through that door 8 months ago. And I'm
Us
very,
too. Us too, we're glad you did.
thank you, Cookie.
You're welcome.
I have met so many wonderful people here, and I have learned so many things that I didn't learn in the first 50 years of my life, which made me question my sanity and many other things. I can see all of you. You all offered something to me and enlightened me in some strange way, as I would say 2 years ago, but it's not so strange now. And I've enjoyed what I've learned. I've enjoyed understanding what I've discovered myself over time. So, and I hope all of you have doors that open, because there's many doors in this room, and they're all there for you. So,
But what did you learn about metaphysics?
what did I learn about metaphysics?
Weren't you surprised how gifted you are?
Yeah, I thought everybody could do that. Yeah, I ran across metaphysics in my teenage years. I didn't really know what it was. Keith explained it to me.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, and I'm so grateful for that.
What is it?
Well, for me, it was believing in a higher plane. I have been talking to, as some people say, men upstairs for a very long time, since I was about 4. And I was put in a strange position back then, and that's where I went. So I went to church for a long time. And when I was 12, I had the opportunity to become a member of the church, but I was told no when I asked my father. And he said, "But you can become a member of the Mormon faith if you like." I was like, "No, thank you." So after that, I wandered off on my own path, because where I was, you went to church or you didn't. And so I wandered off my own path. I discovered a pendulum, and I started asking questions, and I started getting answers. And then I moved into other interesting areas and discovered philosophy. And philosophy was really cool, especially what one man said to me, who was my first philosophy teacher. He said, "Someday, this will be your life." And I said, "Oh, okay." Okay, okay. So I followed that, and I've been very philosophical most of my life, even though I have a degree in tech. And at work, well, I call customers, and well, they're usually not in my queue, and I find out they have a problem. So I realize now that if I call you, then you probably have a problem. And we just don't know it yet. And then the other thing I discovered along my journey before I came here, so I had surgery in 2017. I have about $1 million worth of titanium in my body.
All right.
Yeah.
You are valuable.
I'm very valuable, yes. I call it my thermometer, because it usually goes off at some point in time. When that happened, I healed very, very quickly, and I was told so. And I had to fake it too, because I was staying in a rehab for a couple of weeks, and they said, "If you don't do blah, 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 you'll get kicked out." I said, "Okay, I'll do blah, blah, blah," whatever that was. During that time, I had found my biological family in 2015, and my brother says to me, "You're not human because you're healing too quick." And so it was interesting, and I just let it kind of go, because I was learning things from him too. And shortly thereafter, I got this strange message. It was about four months later before I went back to work. And I was going to go on a trip just to relax before I got back to work and go back to the stress. And I got this message, and it said, "Yeah, you need to go on a trip, but you're going home." And I said, "I'm going home." "Okay, well, fine, I'll just tell them I'm coming home, see if they're good with that." And so I got a ticket on Wednesday. I actually got a message that morning from my doctor, which I'd asked for 2 weeks before. "Can I go on a trip? Can I fly?" He said yes. Called my brother, "Do you mind if I come and visit?" "No, that's fine, if you really have to come."
Oh, and friendly too.
The next day I jumped on a plane and was there on Friday. I got there in the middle of the night, was picked up. The next day I visited with them. There was something definitely wrong, didn't quite understand what. And in the middle of the night, that brother had a stroke. He had a double clot in the back of his brain. And so he had had that for about 10 hours before he got to the hospital, because he didn't know. He just thought he was having these things happening. And I spent the entire day with him in that hospital, in the emergency. And his doctor came back to him on Sunday and said, "Mr. Hill, I hate to inform you this, but it's probably going to be about 6 months before you even start to recover." So it kind of freaked him out. And then when I saw him later that day, he was talking. He had no drip. He had nothing. The only thing that happened in that room that day was we held hands all day long. Yeah, I thought, okay, this is just weird. And then I came back. So, and that's kind of my story of how I ended up here. Yes.
Question.
Sure.
So I know that you used to be a teacher and now you're in high tech. I wonder if that was a door that you experienced as opening. If you could tell us about that.
Sure. That was an interesting door.
So you were a teacher?
I was a teacher.
What'd you
What?
teach?
I taught high tech. And whatever anybody wanted to know.
You
So.
teach high tech, you can show me how to work my computer?
Yeah. Yeah, I keep this a secret, you know.
Oh,
No longer a secret.
It's now on YouTube.
Do this, when you're talking with her about high tech, do this.
I do that all the time. I think that was a door. It really was a door. So I actually went through 2 doors at that point. I went through the door of going from a teacher to working with students all the time in the evening. So I spent about 6 years doing that. During that time, I built a volunteer program for students so that they would have a tutor. So, and I put in my own time to that as well, on top of my own job. And then one day, I discovered that being a union negotiator wasn't paying off. And the energy got shifted in a big way. And I received paperwork to say who my biological mother was at that point, and also to inform me that my boss was going to take my job.
Huh.
Yes. That was an interesting door. It was a challenging door. And I went on and I was like, oh, I'll just wait till I finish my term, because as a union employee, you get 39 months of time in order to be rehired by whoever you're working for. And so I said, I'll wait till the end and I'll look for a job then. And then a door opened. I got smacked and got told, you need to go to this interview. And I said, okay, fine, I'll go for the practice. And 3 days later, I had a job. So, and it was kind of an interesting job. It's a job I still have at the moment. And I'm like, really? You're gonna take a chance on me? I don't even know your product. And it's an enterprise level product, so I learned it. I learned it well. And it gave me a different type of perspective as to what's out there versus teaching. But I get told by customers all the time, you're not normal, you're different. You're not the same as everybody else I talk to.
Thank God.
So what do you think are some of the things that prevent people from opening that door? Why wouldn't they?
Well, I still have a door that I have to go through. And I think that really is fear. Fear of what is on the other side. So, but if you believe and you trust, everything will be good. It's just change.
You tend to listen. Why do you think people don't listen?
I tend to listen.
You listen with blind faith.
I didn't always.
I'm sorry?
I didn't always.
But so.
What changed it?
So what changed, and how can you help the people that are in here start their process of listening with blind faith?
Or at least what would be your advice?
Yeah, well, to take that first step.
For me, for a long time, I wouldn't go out and do things by myself. So I wouldn't take a chance.
Closer to the microphone, please.
Sure. I wouldn't take a chance and go to a class by myself. And last year, I made a decision that I wanted to discover what was missing and understand what had happened. And I chose to go to things and have that confidence to go to those things. And everything I chose to do was something to benefit me, to help me grow and heal. And that's what it is. It's, what are you trying to heal? What are you trying to grow in? What will make you the better you? And the happier you? And the joyful you? And I can say that since I've been here, I've definitely been much more joyful.
Yay!
In Tiffany's 3-day class, you mentioned you were seeking freedom. Tell us about that. And have you found it, or what's your door look like, or tell us about that.
Freedom is doing what I want to do, when I want to do, without control and manipulation. That is what freedom is to me.
Sounds awesome.
Control and manipulation of others? That's a huge door. How many people here can actually say that they've gone through that door of freedom? without worrying about what other people say. That's,
It's kind of a revolving door.
yes, it's a Yeah, exactly.
You
You,
go
so
back and
often
forth.
you stand at that door and you go, oh, well, that would make me selfish if I do what I want for myself. Oh, people are gonna judge me if I do what I want. You go through all of that, and that door is one of the biggest ones you go through, is realizing you are a child of God and you are absolutely perfect the way you are. It takes a lot of work.
I like how she said it was revolving.
Yeah.
Sometimes it goes backwards.
But I think that having the relationship with Spirit and the divine is your backup. It's like when you get to that revolving door and the question, it's like leaning into the knowing you're being guided helps you go through the door, even though it's unfamiliar. Yeah?
I think part of it for me is that, as some people might say, I'm very hard on myself. So I run that perfect line. Okay, if I haven't done it right, well, I'll scold myself for as long as I have to. So, and as I was recently told, we all have bad days. So just deal with it. It's a bad day. Tomorrow won't be so bad. And we can all be kind of jerks at times. But as long as you're not that all the time. I think that took me to something I read recently, and it had to do with soul, and the fact of, well, it wasn't me that actually chose this, it was my soul that chose this, and I have to learn some lessons. I just have to figure out what the lessons are, and what those answers be.
What is your gift that you did since you were 4 years old? Is it healing? Is it psychic? What is your gift?
It's kind of weird.
Okay.
You're talking to a group of weird
That's
Weird is normal here.
They're very normal.
In other words, you show us.
You show us yours, we'll show you ours.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See, that works here.
It works. I have always been called to be somewhere, and it's usually when something bad happens. And I'm always compelled to be there.
So you could be like an EMT or a.
Or I should come for cover.
Yeah. Comfort.
If you weren't there, it would go much worse for the people around there. You are a catalyst for making things better.
So you're gonna stay, right? You're gonna stay here and
Yeah,
help
I'm gonna
us
stay.
Do you want to talk about how my little stick spoke to you?
Yes.
That's a gift too.
Oh, true.
What was it?
How what?
Your
I
stick.
said it low so she could decide if she wanted to say it.
Something about sticks and
Cheryl has a stick.
And
Well, for whatever reason, where I was at the time, I had my Dremel with me. And her stick was speaking to me. She wanted some things to happen to this stick, and I said, okay, I'll just follow the Dremel and do some things to it.
What's a Dremel?
What's a Dremel? A Dremel's this tool that allows you to cut.
cut and sand.
Oh, like a real tool.
Yeah, really.
Oh,
different-
okay, I know what a real Dremel is, I thought maybe
Yeah.
it was a
She thought maybe that was
metaphysical
naming your
thing.
spirit.
You're out here, you gotta clarify.
My spirit back then, like,
So I wanted to dress it and
Yeah.
do something with it, and it began telling you what it wanted.
yeah, it told me what it wanted. Told me that it didn't quite want what Cheryl wanted. So we modified this stick to the way the stick wanted to be. And it wanted some copper, so I had copper with me and I gave it to Cheryl. She wrapped it in copper. And then it wanted some stones and I gave her some stones. So, Are you finished?
No, I
So how is your stick feeling?
I want to intercede here. This was at a time when Cheryl needed help. That's what you do so well. You step in when you can feel
Yeah.
that people need help, even if it's with a stick.
I see.
Yeah, you did. And you heard.
That's called being a healer.
Yeah.
You're a healer.
How do you hear the voice of spirit? Is it in your gut, in your head, or, tell us about how you have your intuition to know what to do next.
It depends on what I'm doing. When I teach, it's a download. It's just there.
A download, do you have to say, give me my download?
No, it just happens.
Oh.
I
And then
just
you know.
I just know. Yeah, I get that.
Oh, good, I was afraid you had a download button.
Well, she is techie, remember that.
I know, that's what I mean, she's a techie. Spirit, push.
Unfortunately, downloads don't work at work, so, but that's different. Yeah, it's a download. Sometimes I'll hear a voice, and that's usually when somebody's screaming at me, saying, hey, hello, you're not paying attention. And sometimes I'll get a feeling.
Oh,
So
what?
a
A
feeling.
feeling.
A feeling. So I'll get all tingly and weird. Tingly and weird, yes.
Technical term.
All right, I think we have time for one more question.
I have one question. You said that you held your brother's hands the whole time you were in the hospital room with him.
Yeah.
Were you healing your brother? Or were you being facilitated to heal your brother?
I believe so.
Yes.
I believe so.
Did you just hold his hand or were you saying anything?
We were talking.
Just BSing?
Yeah. Whatever was coming up at the time. So he was very nervous because he doesn't like hospitals or doctors or anything like that. So.
So part of you was distracting his mind while the spirit part was working.
Yeah.
Did you hear what Dr. Eileen just said?
No, that
No.
part of her was distracting his mind while what was coming through her was working with him, so he wasn't having to consciously believe or not believe. He just could experience.
Is this your adopted brother or your biological brother?
Bio. Yeah. He's a half brother. So. And he too is also gifted but doesn't realize it. Yeah.
The gift in
He
you
gets- he
accepted the
gets,
gift in him
knowledge
and
downloads.
all that.
He is direct.
Okay, well, I want to thank you so very much. Very good. And you're talking to a very supportive group. I think that's one of the most wonderful things about talking here is that you all are such a supportive audience. How many of you have ever talked with in front of an audience that wasn't supportive? Yeah, and to have one like this is amazing. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you. And I'm gonna